On to, you can do that certainly as well, but we would like to ask all the questions at the end so everybody gets to see them. Just very quickly, the Illinois Recycling Foundation is a 501c3 educational organization. We're dedicated to waste reduction, reuse, recycling, and supporting markets for recycled content materials. Members come together to seek solutions to the challenges impacting our mission, and we express our concerns to state agencies and political leadership whenever necessary. We also welcome members of industry and government, educational institutions, and nonprofits that share our goals to be members and coordinate for solutions to the issues that we face. A few additional reasons to join us is that we have been around for about 40 years now as the collective voice of recycling in Illinois, originally as the Illinois Recycling Association. We did split off last year and develop the 501c3. Illinois Recycling Association is our sister organization and still exists as a 501c6. All of our members who attend our webinars can attend them free of charge. This is a unique webinar for us that we do not have any fee associated with this one, but normally we do. We do not charge our members for job postings, so certainly we will help spread the word if you have openings. And our members are all listed on our website, which is one of the most used pages on our website. So people coming looking for you will find you there. Monthly emails cover current topics that impact recycling. The newsletter features at least one member each month, and our members' activities are highlighted in our social media. All members are also members of the National Recycling Coalition, and this year, that means not only do you get a discount for attending the Resource Recycling Conference, you'll also get discounts for attending the NRC's national conference, which they're bringing back, as well as a net zero conference later this year. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce our agenda for today. We have Scott Defife from the Glass Packaging Institute. He's the president. And then we also have Jeff Lang from Legacy Marketing, who's been handling Constellation Brands and is one of the creators of the concept we're going to hear about today. So I'm going to give the handle here to Scott, which means I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Scott, you are welcome to start sharing yours.
Thank you very much, Marta. Let's see if I can share this right here. Get going with some additional slides. And I really appreciate everybody being here today. When I start to share my screen, I lose everybody's faces, so I can't see your reactions. But I'll see if I can, see notes in the chat or something like that. I'll try to move through this relatively quickly. I think it was February. I was touching base with Marta again and Gloria beforehand when we were talking earlier in this year about the commitments of the glass container industry. And GPI and our work to increase glass recycling across the country, and we had been not quite ready to finalize this report that I'm sharing up here on the screen, but we did release it in April, and we're excited to bring one version of one tool of a pilot solution to increase incremental tons of glass in the United States is happening in Chicago, and so. I thought it was only appropriate, and with a little bit of nudging from Marta reminding me that we needed to, just to check in, to brief up the members of the IRF here before things really before you started to see it on the ground. And then in the next couple of weeks, you're going to start to see the beginning of a project that we're going to talk about today. But I want to just give you a little bit of context for what the container industry, GPI, and our affiliated partner groups, the Glass Recycling Coalition and the Glass Recycling Foundation, are doing. The GPI is the trade association for the glass container manufacturing industry. There are several members. I've in addition to Ripple, I've seen Jim Nordmeyer from OI. I saw Laura Henneman from Strategic Materials on the line. I hope I'm not missing one of my other members who may be on here as well. But we spent most of our COVID year working on a supply chain management study and a kind of a glass recycling roadmap. As you could tell, many entities, you know, the US EPA, there's a lot of momentum for increasing recycling rates around the country, you know, getting to 50% recycled content for all materials by 2030. The glass industry wanted to go one step further and not just make, you know, some commitment to a number, but also craft a roadmap of how to get there. And if you can remember from our February conversation, you know, we hover in the low 30s in terms of recycling rates for glass nationally, and recycled content rates for bottles made in North America. And the industry is committed to getting to a 50% rate for both of those measures by the end of the decade. Um, in our comprehensive study of how we get to do that, there's a multitude of different ways that you can do that, but one of the keys for us is, you know, focusing on different regions and the appropriate solutions and tools for, you know, one region may be different than another region, but largely we could summarize our buckets of effort to get to an incremental goal of 2,500 more tons of glass a year, right? So if the gap to goal is 2,500 tons in additional cullet recycled glass going to container manufacturing, that we're almost doubling the production right now. You know, cleaner streams, expanded commercial recycling, work on legislation where there's momentum. I think today is a day when the Connecticut bottle bill is going to be expanded for the first time in a decade or more, strengthening MRF infrastructure, making, and that is includes, you know, investments in equipment at material recovery facilities, increasing processing capacity and access to processing. But in addition, you know, some bigger scale in, you know, programs and partnerships, and I today, you know, to get us to that goal. um, that's a 10-year roadmap. In our first 2 years we're really focused on, you know, getting going with resource recycling systems, is helping us to build out some of these pilots across the country and really showing proof of concept of several different activities. Of course, you know, there's companies doing this already. Ripple has a great program in the Midwest. Rose King, who is with us and is participating in the Chicago pilot, is doing work in the Phoenix area in this arena. But we're focusing in this year and next year on building up some pilots around cleaner streams, expanded commercial recycling, expanding reach to processing, strengthening MRF infrastructure, and working with states that want to have a statewide strategy to support development of the glass system in their state. These are our first five, you know, areas of focus. In addition, we've done a lot of we've kind of distilled all of the lessons and the dialogue and the questions that we get asked in a lot of instances. I can't tell you how many webinars I've been on with local leaders who, you know, have a question about glass or a concern about glass. And up on our website, the GPI website, we've added some additional tools and resources with links, active links to programs and information that's not necessarily even GPI information, but GRC or other resources for a quick study of glass recycling and questions that we think municipal leaders should ask about glass recycling before they take any drastic steps. Just wanted to, you know, those resources are active on our GPI website. But getting back to our roadmap, since we've released the report and since we have begun this year, and there's even one or two more states. I see Ellen from Oklahoma is here. We're not ready to color in that Oklahoma as light blue yet because we don't have something active, but the dialogue is underway and a half a dozen more states that aren't colored blue here. But the this is our U.S. glass infrastructure map. This includes locations for glass container plants, fiberglass plants, glass recycling processors, also MRFs that are accepting glass, but also Glass Recycling Coalition certified MRFs, although this map needs to be updated because we now have the Rumpke facilities in Ohio, the Sims facilities in New York, and a couple new facilities in Texas, the FCC facilities in Houston and Dallas. So sorry about that. I pulled the wrong iteration of this map. This map a little old, but the blue states are states where we've got active pilots in development or discussions going on to improve glass recycling in those states. We're happy to add, 6 or 10 more to this map going forward. Let me zoom in on your area, the Great Lakes region in Illinois. These are concentric circles of 100 and 200 miles around glass recycling processors and glass plants. You've got bottle bill states to your east and your west, which also put a lot of good quality material into the system. So you can sense why we're focused on the Great Lakes. There's a lot of glass container manufacturing plants in the region, and as part of our goal, getting that incremental tons of glass that is otherwise going to the landfill now um, back into the supply chain so that we can get it to the container manufacturing plants is how we get our recycled content rates up. So what does that mean for Chicago? Just coincidentally, as we started talking about our work, we got outreach from Constellation Brands and Corona. This is where Jeff Lang and the legacy marketing team come in to do a glass recycling pilot program in Chicago for restaurant and bar accounts in the Chicagoland area. Did they want to work with the Glass Recycling Foundation to roll something out to see what we could put together? And so we're going to spend the next few minutes going an overview of the platform. Corona and Constellation Brands is sponsoring the collection of glass only recycling from bars and restaurants in Chicagoland area. That's going to start. They've started doing some of their educational events already, but the glass recycling itself, the pickup of 8 weeks of glass at bars and restaurants in the area, is slated to start the week of June 28th. And this is some great material that we worked on with Legacy and Jeff and his team to build out the program as they started working with their distribution partners and talking to their major accounts to sponsor the program, to see who wanted to be in on some glass recycling over the summer as a pilot program so that we could get a sense of the economics of how to do this program in the Chicago area. I'm going to let Jeff talk about the on-premise event program for just half a second, and Jeff, tell me if you want me to move the slide forward real quick.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Perfect. So we have built this Corona crusher machine that you can see on the bottom left, and essentially this engages consumers in bars and restaurants throughout the Chicagoland area and allows them to get hands-on with the machine and insert their glass bottle into the machine on kind of that top right. So they put their bottle in bottom first, and then it automatically grinds it up into a fine sand, which is then kind of spit out in a bin that's placed beneath the machine in that other kind of white square. So essentially, this allows consumers the opportunity to see their glass bottle get deposited into the machine and instantly turn into sand, which will then be used and put back into the glass manufacturing process. So it's really cool. We've had we've had a few events the past couple weekends, a lot of positive feedback from consumers, something that they've just never seen before, and they all understand the need for glassware recycling, but this provides an actionable element to allow them to recycle at the bar or restaurant. So we also have point of sale that promotes the Corona features during the activation, as well as the GRF partnership with Corona. And then we also are encouraging consumers to share it, or accounts to share it out on their social channels. We do have a team that is on site at all the activations. Hopefully you guys can hear me better now. And we do sample 25 consumers per activation. So we do engage them with samples of Corona, and that way they have a bottle to then put into the machine. And we also have a sand art station for them to create their own sand art using blue and yellow sand to take home with them. So it's kind of an all-encompassing engagement with consumers in these bars and restaurants. But again, the focal point is that Corona Crusher machine that allows them to recycle their Corona bottle at the activation.
Great. Thanks a lot, Jeff. And just it's not just Corona bottles though, right? So, and Corona knew that going forward. I mean, part of this is getting people aware of glass recycling, bringing some great events to some bar and restaurant accounts coming out of COVID. I know that Constellation Brands wanted to help their account partners, get people excited to be back out in the free world, out in bars and restaurants in person like we were 18 months ago before all of this hit. And so coming into the summer, which we think is going to be very busy, we're set up to do some additional glass recycling at each of these accounts. So after they do their their marketing events, their on-premise events to get acclimated to the program, we will come back in. The Glass Recycling Foundation, the donation from Constellation Brands to GRF is helping to put together a program of collection where Rose and her partner in Chicago, Tom Sheehan, have been putting together the logistics on the ground to go around and collect the glass from the participating accounts. After the accounts are agreed and in the system, then we reach out and we start the education program for what to do in the back of the house, how to take the glass, and then we'll set up the external bulk containers and get the routes going, and work on building this out over the course of the summer. This is a map that Jeff's team put together. They have organized the events and the account participation by distribution region. And so we're partnering with all of the distributors in the Chicagoland. I think all the distributors, don't correct me if I'm wrong and we're missing one of them, Jeff, but most every beverage distributor in the Chicagoland region is participating with at least a few accounts in this program over the course of the summer. And as the legacy team is going kind of region to region, week to week, weekend to weekend, then we'll be following in behind with 8 weeks of glass recycling at the accounts. At the end of this, we'll provide a list of the accounts going forward to IRF, and we're looking for the any and all support that we can get. Constellation's initial sponsorship is helping us to get this off the ground. There are many other people working on this, some element of this, putting this together. Don't trash glass is a hashtag. Coronas protect our beaches is another hashtag that you'll see on this. And that is it for the presentation. I'm going to stop the share now, but I'm happy to go back to any of the slides and answer some questions. And if you've got questions for Rose on logistics or Jeff on the on-premise accounts, that's a good overview of what we're doing. And any additional sponsorships or support is welcomed for this program. If people are interested, they can reach out and contact us directly. In addition, as we build out the routes for the accounts that are going to be picking up the glass, there is going to be room to pick up more. And so if there are other accounts, if you know of bars and restaurants, casinos, other large venues that have a lot of glass, and you think that they may want to participate in the program, let's point them out to us as well, and we can fill in the routes. We need to make the routes as efficient as possible going forward to collect as much glass at the end. We will do all of the measuring and the metrics, weighing in and counting the diversion, and report out at the end, crunch some numbers, and figure out how we turn this into a sustainable, perpetual bar and restaurant collection program in the greater Chicago area. So, Marta, with that, I think it's good for some feedback and Q&A. Marta, I think you're on mute. Sorry.
Sorry about that. Thank you. I wanted to thank Scott and Jeff for this exciting program that they're bringing to the Chicagoland area. I also want to thank Rose and Tom, who've been working behind the scenes to get this off the ground. And I want to let everybody know that we intend to be promoting it as much as possible as it's going through this summer. We would invite all of our members and non-members to also promote this. I know we have some out-of-staters, but everybody in the Illinois area that wants to give a shout out to this on their own social media, we're welcoming that as well. And we'll be sending out lots of little emails letting people know what's going on and where you guys are going to be at. I also just wanted to give one more shout out for joining the Illinois Recycling Foundation. We do have some upcoming events. We're going to have an actual in-person tour of a C&D recycling site, July 29th. And August 31st, please hold that your date on your calendar. We'll be doing our annual conference virtually again. So it was a good success last year. We're going to keep it that way this year, and then hopefully we'll be in person next year. We do need some sponsors. We are welcome to nominations for awards, and we have a couple of open seats on the board. So if anybody's interested in serving on the board, please let us know. And we will do some more webinars and tours for the rest of the year, September through December. So just last shout out for that, and then we'll go into questions. Please put your questions in the chat, and we will just, if you will, I had a couple of questions that I had come up with. How are you guys going to be addressing the limited space for sorting that the restaurants and bars often face, and the high turnover that they seem to face with their staff? What's the plan for that?
Yeah, and Rose is here. Rose King with Glass King in Arizona is here with us. She's got an operable bar and restaurant collection program going in Phoenix, and with Tom Sheehan in the Chicago area is putting together, the work here to do the on-site, to do the collection of the bulk containers. We've got slim bins that we'll be providing, and educational material that we'll be providing. That's part of the lead time that we need. Once we get the accounts, ready to go, then Rose and her team get in there, do a site visit, bring the bins and containers, do a little bit of an educational overview on site with the restaurants, and transfer the glass from the slim bins at the bar or in the back of the house to the bulk containers out back, which then get serviced on a route based on volume and when they're ready to be filled. There'll be a little bit of tweaking and monitoring at the beginning to make sure that we're picking up everything and that things aren't getting overflowing, things of that nature. And so that's going. Rose, I didn't know if you wanted to weigh in at all with questions about inside.
Yes, I just wanted to address what Marta asked about the sorting. Marta, this program is about convenience. And so though there's no color sorting, and napkins, the little napkins that go underneath your drink, the straws, we call those incidentals. Even that's okay. So as simple as we can for the establishment.
Yeah, we really just want them to focus on putting glass in the separate container, right? If it's not 100% compliance necessary, as a pilot especially, we'll have the ability to deal with a little bit of contamination. As long as they're not dumping food and ceramics in there, then I think we'll be largely okay.
And one thing I wanted to add, we really take great pride in the relationship that we have with all of our establishments. And when we see them, it's what, why, and certainly how we're recovering this glass. And as far as turnover, Marta, because I didn't address that either, very quickly we realized that there's been turnover at the establishment just because of the bin conditions, if that happens.
Okay. The next one that I wanted to know is, as you're building out the routes, how could additional sites be added?
Yeah, so if you know of accounts, locations, bars, restaurants, again, large venues that you think would be interested in this, then just get them. The first best way is to get them in touch with one of us, either myself or Jeff or Rose. We're going to have all of this up on our website, the Glass Recycling Foundation website, plus in addition to the websites that are dedicated to the program. And what we probably need to do is build in a site visit with one of the new accounts, see how big they are, what kind of volume, the same kind of preparatory work that we do with the Constellation sponsored accounts, to figure out how we build them into the route. We're also looking for additional sponsors to help underwrite the cost of collection, but the bulk of the infrastructure is going to be there. I mean, we've got the bulk containers, we've got the slim bins, we've got the trucks, we've got the aggregation location. So, we would enjoy having additional accounts fill in so that we can make these routes as efficient as possible. But reach out to us first, and then we'll figure it out from there. I think is the best answer for now. But we want to keep it going, and we want as many other locations as possible.
Well, we will add a link on our website too, so our members find that really easy to use. And then, do you have any idea what the program would cost for a restaurant to continue it after it ends?
That is partly one of the key takeaways that we're trying to study this summer. We know what it costs in Phoenix. It costs more in Chicago. We're trying to figure out exactly how much more. But if it comes in the 100-ish range plus, we're gonna see exactly what that's gonna be on a regular, ongoing basis. Some of it's gonna depend on volume. We also need to see the metrics of some establishments are really glass heavy, glass intense, locations where there could be more. And then of course there's an offsetting potential to offset waste management fees on the other side, when contracts can get renewed and things of that nature, if they are decreasing their volume by diverting the glass out of their waste stream. And so we still got to work on some of those things in the Phoenix area. That's part of how Rose's program works, is the diversion pays for itself over time, even though there's a separate collection. But the economics of a system in Chicago may be slightly different. So that's partly what we're studying in the summer.
Well, I'm going to go with, I think that we just kind of covered the economic strain that maybe the restaurants would face and other ways to help fund it. So
Yep.
the last question that I had prepared was if you can
So
identify
Joy-
any way governments could assist with this effort.
Hi, Dennis. Sorry.
State,
Bouncing from meeting to meeting
could you mute people, Gloria?
this morning. Okay.
Would
so,
that be any ways that government might assist with this effort, the state, county, or local municipality, if at all possible, how they might be able to help?
Oh, absolutely. First of all, awareness is very helpful. We'd love to work, report in to the corresponding governments. If there are additional resources that any of the counties or the state has to help us, with the program, we're ready to run this in the summer, with what we have. But any additional help always helps the bottom line. So in-kind grants, support. I think there are a couple members of the IRF that are actually helping us with logistics. I'm not sure if Ron is on the call, but I think Ron's from Economy Disposal. We want to thank him because I believe, and Rose, correct me if I'm wrong, I may be getting premature here, but I think we're in the final 24 hours or so of locking in, use of some of his sites for aggregation. Marta, one of the things that is important here is, especially as the pilot, but in an ongoing sense, is we want to know, it's not just collect it and then deal with it. It's measure it, know what we're doing in terms of tons, diversion rates, and things of that nature, and also being able to report to each of the accounts what their waste stream is like, right? So it's kind of an audit of the glass that's coming in and out of their commercial establishment. And in order to do that, we need to be able to weigh the different things. I saw a question in there about the kind of containers. And for this particular, for one of these reasons in particular, we have a system where we're using Gaylord pallet, based Gaylords for the bulk containers on the outside, so that each of the venues glass it's not getting mixed in together until it's ready to be dumped after it's weighed and aggregated. So we'll be able to keep track of what's going on with each container and each establishment individually throughout the summer.
Okay.
But any, assistance, awareness, identification of large glass market targets that may be, interested in this program, or, want to participate in this. If you know of people who've been interested in this kind of thing in the past, and we can connect, to find those people and get them integrated into the program, that would be very helpful. It never hurts to have, a few extra pieces of equipment and things like that on hand as well as backup. I think we've got all of our basic equipment accounted for, but you never know what's going to happen during a program summer in case something breaks or something like that. So we have some backup plans.
Okay. Did Gloria or John, did you see some questions in the chat? Because I wasn't able to follow those as well.
I think there were one or two questions for Jeff about the machine, the grinding machine, and the events. Jeff, I think if people want to come up, they're all welcome to go to any of the events, right? The public events are not invitation only or anything; they're open.
Correct. Yeah, we encourage it. If you guys, we'll be sure to send out the schedule of events. We would love to see you out there, and you guys can witness the machine live and in action. In terms of the sound, we have been able to source technology that does minimize the crushing sound. We do hook the machine up to a generator. So honestly, I think the generator creates a little bit more noise than the machine itself, which is kind of ironic. So that answers that question. And then one of the other questions was, why are we grinding it on site as opposed to just simply collecting and transporting? Part of the reason is it's really a perfect fit for Corona and the brand equity of, with the beach and kind of that mindset of the brand to create sand on site for consumers, and it creates kind of that jaw-dropping experience for consumers in bars and restaurants, and it gives them something to do, and to see their awe and amazement when they see a glass bottle instantly grind, turn into sand. They love it. So it just creates that fun experience for consumers while communicating the messaging and the importance of glass recycling. So that's essentially one of the reasons why we built the machine, and we're handling this engagement on site as opposed to just collecting the bottles.
The vast majority of the glass collected is going to regular beneficiation, processing, and back into the supply chain. It's the event material that is coming from the machine.
So you're doing a site for a few weeks, but you're only doing the crushing on site a few nights. Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct. Yep. We have 6 events per weekend. And typically it's Fridays and Saturdays. Right now, we may be adjusting that to Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. I'm working through that with the team. Another question that just came up is the glass dust and residue. So the machine has been custom fabricated around the technology. So there's a glass kind of slip per se that they insert their bottle in, and it kind of then slides down into the machine. And all the grinding is done behind this fabricated piece. And then it's a blocked off bin, so consumers cannot touch the sand from the front of the machine. So that protects them and ensures that the glass dust is safely transported as it gets grinded into the sand and then deposited into the bin.
So this is designed to be two different things that are happening. One is the marketing to the app, resident, to the person who comes out, who might not know much about recycling in general, and it's very exciting. And as a great way, I think you mentioned, to get people out of their houses and back out now that we're coming out of COVID. But the other part of this is the back of the house. There will be a dumpster just for glass.
Just for glass.
And you'll have a
dedicated.
route just for this glass and a processor. That's all the traditional way that we think of it, except instead of being mixed like it is at our curb, it's actually just glass in this container, but
Yep.
all the colors. You're not, I think Rose mentioned, no
Right.
sorting of colors is going to be done.
Yeah, exactly. The in-house staff doesn't have to do, all we ask them to do is get the glass in the one bin, in the one separated bin, and get it into the bulk container out back. It's only glass. They don't have to do any other sorting or color sorting or anything like that, low wise. And yes, I know, Laura, I think, pointed out in the chat that sand is a what comes out of the machines, Jeff, I think is a fine grind. It's not technically sand. Once sand is silica sand is part of making a glass container. When you grind it back down after it's been turned into a glass container, it's not technically sand, but it's a sand-like, material that comes out of that Expleco machine. But it does, I think I understand what Jeff was saying in that part of the Corona branding experience is the beach type scenario, but none of that material is going to be deposited for beach restoration. I think there's a test application for the material that comes from the grind that is part of the program.
Jeff, I think this latest question is for you, and that's on any thoughts on making a video at one of these venues?
Yes, and we're actually working on that with the team. So now that the program is up and running, we wanted to have a video at a real event versus just staging an event. So we are working with the team to get a video and kind of like a scissor reel produced, and we'll be sure to share that with everyone once that is finalized.
Got to put a TikTok out there, Jeff.
Yes, that too.
Well, that's wonderful. I personally have to tell you that I love that you're trying to create a route. You're trying to make this efficient. You're going to try to lower the cost. You're going to educate the restaurants. You're basically giving them an audit so they have all this information moving forward. Is there any thought to working with composters to try to get food scrap composting? Because that's the other heavy material that our restaurants and bars deal with, and the reason they pay more for garbage disposal than retailers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that is a systemic question that I get that seems to come up frequently. The two, we know that cities and counties, have a challenge with weight in their system, especially with budgets and everything that's been going on in the economy, and so decreasing weight, is priority 1 and 2, right? Because it's directly connected to the budgets. And organics and glass, especially in the commercial establishments, bars and restaurants that are, food and beverage heavy. Those are the key areas. I see a lot of synergies between the organics collection and the glass collection. We're open to working with them. I think we have to right now we're trying to figure out our own systems to see what we can do and do it right and do it economically. But yes, I have it on our big picture list of things to do to connect with the composting and organics recycling arenas to see what, how we can leverage our work together. They don't really mix in the same truck, right? It's not like we want to pick them up in the
not at all.
But yeah, I think there's something to that where we now to be sure, I've definitely had conversations in this calendar year with companies, groups that are doing anaerobic digestion, depacking. I think there's some opportunities, Jeff, at the that we've kind of discovered at the distribution warehouses where there's, maybe there's some breakage and things of that nature. And so some depacking industries can combine with the organics. There's a couple groups in the Northeast that have been looking at depacking glass containers, beverage and or food, where they have the glass container that gets recycled, and then the organics goes to anaerobic digestion for energy recovery. But I think those are just ideas on paper right now. I'm not sure that it's actually, in operation yet.
I didn't see any additional questions. Did anybody else see something else in the chat I might have missed as I was kind of cruising through? And certainly
did we address the question about how are the collection containers serviced and who is providing that service? I think we touched on that.
Yeah, we did. Rose and her team are, have the containers, the bins. Will be putting them out and picking them up and servicing them on a regular basis for the summer. We're training the people that will be in Chicago on the program and the operations of how she does it in Arizona, and she'll be on site to kick all those things off.
And Joe Hooker from Champaign asked if there'd be opportunities for downstate people to view the operation of the crusher in the Chicagoland area.
Yep. We're gonna, as Jeff was saying, it's all open to the public. Anybody who wants to come up. All of the event locations will be posted on the social media, but also on the Glass Recycling Foundation webpage. And when we're done with this, and Marta, you and Gloria want to send out a report to everybody, we'll include the links to the landing page for the program on the GRF website and the other collateral where people can track the program. Jeff, I think you guys are using Instagram more than Twitter, but we'll supplement with some Twitter and LinkedIn posts as well.
Yeah, and we'll definitely try to have it on our website and throw it out on our social media. So absolutely. The machine grinding is not part of the weekly recycling part. I see some questions in the chat. So that's just a 2-hour event when Jeff and his team are out there promoting the program at the beginning. The regular recycling is just slim bins collection to the bulk container out back.
And also, Marta from Joe Hooker in Champaign, is the foundation considering pilot programs with managed consumer drop-off locations for glass?
Right.
So that's what you're trying to set up right now for the bars and the restaurants, but not for the public, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And if this is successful, do you plan to do this somewhere else next year? Would you consider coming back to our area and we'd have a little bit more time maybe to do more, help develop more locations, that kind of thing?
Well, we're hoping it never goes away into the Chicago area, that some vestige of it continues after the summer. So coming back or staying with some presence in the area is a goal for the fall and continue next year. But certainly, look, these things have been tried. They don't always work. Certain cities have tried, but sometimes those were learning. Nashville had a robust program that went. There were different reasons why that didn't wasn't sustainable. Going forward, we're learning from some lessons from what was going on in Nashville. Taking lessons from other places that have started this in the past. Ripple's got a bar collection program that's part of their larger program. That's a much more robust, in place, established collection drop-off collection program in the Kansas City and surrounding state area. I believe I saw that they're even reaching into Southern Illinois now. So right. So there's a different ways of doing this. We're testing out this method to see if this will work and to see if it's replicable and makes sense economically for the accounts. We think it will, but we need to tweak it to Chicago, right? I mean, Chicago's different than almost any other city in the country. And what would work, what may work in Phoenix or Nashville or Kansas City may or may not. We may tweak that for your area. And so we were trying to learn, but our goal as an industry is to create replicable pilots that can be done everywhere or in anywhere. And the industry's committed to. There's a lot of good glass that comes out of commercial accounts that is going straight to landfill right now.
Mm.
And so we're trying to intervene and create a moment where we can divert that glass into the supply chain and get it back into the system, so that it gets back into the broader value chain for recycled glass, which includes fiberglass, aggregate, other materials than just bottle to bottle. But we got to collect it first, right? So that's the primary objective here, is to create a moment where we can draw attention to this program and start to divert glass from landfills.
And just to follow up on that, Scott, when you were with us in February for the webinar, you mentioned that most of the bottle-to-bottle glass that we do here in Illinois is actually glass coming from Michigan, that our own glass isn't making it bottle-to-bottle.
Nationally, the bottle bill states, because the volume is high, the quality is high, and there's an incentive to return that material, there's a majority of the glass that makes it back into a furnace is coming from one of the 10 bottle bill states. You happen to have one to your west and one to your east. And so there is a decent supply of bottle bill glass in the region. There is the industry, to go back to the stage setting here, the industry could use twice as much glass as we are currently getting from a recycled content standpoint, and it could all go back into remanufacture. The question is, it's not a demand, problem. It's a logistics, supply, economics issue of getting the glass into the supply chain. And the first step is, creating a pathway to get it back in the supply chain in the first place, right? So commercial bar and restaurant opportunities are an area that we identified that could divert a lot of material that is otherwise not collected at all, for recycling. And we're hoping that we'll be able to show some incremental tons in Illinois from the program.
Well, I'm very excited. I hope our audience is also equally excited. Did anybody have any last questions?
Did we address the question of that Mr. Hartman from Kendall County had? Do they get moved? How does this glass get moved with a cart from the machine to the outside dumpster?
Well, Gloria, the machine part is not a part of the regular 8 weeks. I mean, the machines are there for 2 hours, 3 hours,
Right.
Event to event. That material is collected separately for a different application that's not part of the regular, inside, the in-house, back of house, collection, the slim bin moves to the outside bulk container. Those things are small enough that they can be moved by a person or with a dolly, to the outside bulk
Right.
container. Then the outside bulk containers are collected, when they're ready.
Thank you. I think we're good.
All right. Well, we are going to be sending out links to your site and putting up more information on our website about this information. And we certainly are encouraging everybody else to share this information, especially when Corona is in your area doing this promotion. So, yeah, and then go out and enjoy.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I really appreciate the opportunity to brief you up on this. I saw it as we talked in February, and we're trying to deliver, right? And this isn't just idle talk. We're trying to come up with programs where we're actually putting these ideas into motion, and we're doing it in your backyard. So only appropriate to brief you up before this gets going and get your feedback and input and questions, and hopefully this works this summer, and it continues from there on. And thanks for your support.
Thank you. Thanks
Please
everybody
let us,
for attending.
yeah. I think my email is up on the presentation, and when we send out the follow-up invitation, we'll have the email contact information and the web addresses.
Okay. Yeah, we'll put it back up there.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.